All right, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We have our regularly scheduled meeting, and before we go into closed session, should we take roll? We do roll?
Estrada,
Here.
Garcia,
Here.
Hurst,
Here.
Montesino,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Dutra.
Here. Thank you, thank you. Okay, public comments regarding the closed session agenda will be accepted by the council at this time. The City Council of the City of Watsonville will recess to closed session to discuss the matters that follow. We have 3 items on here. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on the 3 items that are in closed session?
Hello, my name is Ellie. When I showed up to City Council last week asking you to hire a planner, I did not know that you were even considering the current Assistant City Manager because she simply does not have the experience. According to the City Charter, Section 700, City Manager, Section 705, City Manager Pro Tempore, the City Manager is required to have 1 year experience as City Manager or 3 years experience as Assistant City Manager, and our current Assistant City Manager has neither. I thought it was decided last week that you were going to hire out to find an interim that is adequate and then also find a permanent solution. Handing it to Tamara would be the opposite of both of those actions. I ask you make an educated decision as opposed to an emotional one. Watsonville should not be known for hiring people simply because they're popular around your friends. Watsonville City Council should be smart on who elects to manage our city. This decision will have consequences, right? There will be an impact longer than you'll be in office. So this is a really important time for you to listen to community, for you to focus on hiring a planner that's going to be here long term and that's not going to leave us as soon as they have a shiny opportunity in front of them, right? That is experienced and has the qualifications. Follow the city charter. It's supposed to be there for a reason, not just for when it's convenient. Like, are we going to do what's best for Watsonville, the city, or are we going to do what's best for Watsonville, the department at City Hall, right? As a Watsonville community member, I've been asked to share and to say that I oppose Tamara Vides being appointed interim city manager. I stand with the city of Watsonville employees who have spoken out publicly and with those who have chosen to stay anonymous for fear of retaliation. The fact that you're receiving anonymous emails and letters from people and because they fear retaliation should show you what kind of environment is being created at City Hall, and we should try to be against that, right? So I think that you should really take your time, put the job listing with the planner, go with what you decided last week, take your time. What I tell my kids, and I tell them all the time, to the point that it annoys them, is take your time and do it right. Don't make a quick decision, right? Hire out like you said you were gonna hire out. Find someone that's adequate, that has the qualifications, right? She doesn't, based on your city charter. As far as I know, she's only been the assistant city manager for a year. That's not like, why, what is the point of the city charter if we're just gonna ignore it, right? So I ask you to please listen to community, take the anonymous letters more seriously than you would the ones that sign their name, because clearly if someone is sending you an anonymous email, it's for a reason. That's the environment that's created at City Hall. That's the rumors that are going around the city. And everybody's watching you right now to see if you're gonna make a smart decision or if you're gonna make an emotional one. If you're gonna ride with your friends because this is your job for funsies, or because you wanna climb to be the next whatever, right? I ask you once again, like I did last week, City Council should post this job listing on the APA, and the LAPA should be someone with a master's in planning. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to comment on the closed session items?
Hello, everyone. Laura Segura, Watsonville resident. I stand here in support of Tamara serving as the interim city manager. She has proven to be an effective community partner during the pandemic, advocating and responding to the needs of our most vulnerable in our community. Tamara was a pivotal partner in our South County triage and response group, which comprises over 50 organizations and individuals working towards equity and access to quality health care. She took part in so many aspects of the work during the last 20 months And her team's contributions to our collective achievements cannot be ignored and should be recognized. This was a huge, massive undertaking for us, but yet she showed up each and every time, rolling up her sleeves and without hesitation and any regard to her fatigue. Because we were all super exhausted, but we all showed up together because we knew what was at stake. I understand that you have received anonymous complaints from staff, and some of them have taken their grievances to the city council and the media, which I find all of the above to be unacceptable and cannot be the solution to address internal HR issues. I have served on several boards, and within my organization, we do not accept anonymous complaints because there's no way to follow up, ask questions, dive more into it. We just don't do that. And so there needs to be a process, and I'm sure there is a process internally within the HR department to address these issues. So I encourage the city council to not allow this to be the focus from what is at hand, which is determining the interim city manager. I've worked with her for the past 20 years when I was at the city of Watsonville, in addition to the most recent work we did during the pandemic. So I'm pretty familiar with her work and her communication style, both of which are that of a strong and effective leader. Tamara has been and continues to be a part of our vital South County team. We need her leadership and continued commitment as the interim city manager. Thank you for your consideration and for your service.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Mayor,
Oh,
may I ask the attorney a question?
sure. Ellen, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, earlier there was a description of what was required for, I thought, was the permanent city manager. What is the requirement for an interim city manager? And as much as you can, if you can quote from our charter.
I don't. Well, Beatrice gets the charter. The charter, as I recall, doesn't provide for an interim. It provides for a permanent and a pro tem. And I'll give you the answer to the pro tem, because
the
I think
pro
that's
tem.
what you're asking about. Is that okay?
Yes, for the pro tem.
Okay, so this is section 705 of the charter. The city manager shall appoint, subject to the approval of the council, one of the other officers or department heads of the city to serve as city manager pro tem during the temporary absence or disability. If the city manager fails to make such an appointment, the council shall designate an officer of the city to serve as city manager pro tem during the absence. So it doesn't state a qualification.
Wait, so that says the city manager can appoint the assistant, the next interim CM? Oh, subject, you left that part out. That's important. Oh, that's important, right? So. Got it?
Thank you. I was wondering if there was, I was wondering there's some specific qualifications, but it doesn't sound like there's any qualifications.
I don't have my memo in front of me that I wrote on this subject. I can get you that in a few minutes. It's in my office. But I think your answer is you're correct. I don't believe that pro tem has that. I think it's based on your training, education, and experience that we discussed, I think, last time.
Okay, great. With that, we are adjourned and we'll see you when we're done, 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our city council meeting, our Tuesday, November 9th. This is our second to last meeting for the year. So thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. At this time, we will start with roll call.
Estrada,
Present.
Garcia,
Here.
Hurst,
Here.
Montesino,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Dutra.
Here. All right. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. At this time, the city attorney, can you please report out?
Thank you, Mayor. So there were 3 items on tonight's closed session agenda. On 2A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. That is about the city agreeing to sign a participation agreement in a federal court lawsuit venued in Ohio against Amerisource, Bergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and opioid manufacturer Janssen. So the city will be signing on to that participation agreement. Item 2B, conference with labor negotiator with the public safety mid-management. On that one, the council received a report but did not take any final action. And item 2C, personnel matters, personal employment, employee appointment or appointment, the council it gave directions to staff but took no final action tonight. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. This is the presentation and oral communications. This is time, bless you. This time is set aside for members of the general public to address the council on any item not on the council agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented, except that any council member may respond to statements and/or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to staff. All matters relating to council will be noted in the minutes and may be scheduled for discussion at a future meeting or referred to staff for clarification report. All speakers are asked to fill out a speaker card and leave it at the podium. Speakers are asked to announce their name and district in which they live in order to obtain an accurate record for the minutes. At this point, we will ask the public to stand. Hi, Dr. Lupe Rivas, for 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Lupe Rivas. I live at 498 Clarview Drive in Wattsville in the senior area. And I'm here as a concerned citizen for the city. A couple of items, health issues. First of all, I want to say thank you for the city allowing all these activities to going on in the plaza, the farmers market, Dia de los Muertos, cultural activities. It's great for the community, great for the students, great for everyone. But I'm concerned that there's very little concern about the health issues about toilets in the area. There's the restrooms are horrible. I'm surprised that the city has not condemned those bathrooms there because they're terrible. The businesses around there have had to provide restroom areas, for people to use while they're out there. But also they're getting very sticky about, no, we can't let you use the bathroom, we can't let you do this, so what are people supposed to do? And there's a lot of homeless people there too, so there needs to be some provision provided for some facilities for people to use while they're in the central plaza or in the area. The other issue is also concerning this. As a senior, as a citizen of the city, I go to different businesses, restaurants, and the first thing you say, public restrooms are not available. Public restrooms are not available. If they expect to start taking money from people and have business, then they need to be able to provide bathrooms. You know, we go to pharmacy sometimes. You have to go stand in line, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes. No restrooms available. This is a public concern. And not just for us seniors, but for everybody in the city. So if they're going to start opening up businesses, which is great, then they need to start providing services to the customers because they're spending their money at that store. So thank you. I would appreciate your diligence in trying to see that this issue is resolved, because I see it all over the city. The people want the business, but they don't want the responsibility of providing services.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Rivas. We will be getting soon building our restrooms in the plaza, so I don't know when that will be happening, but it should be soon.
That's right, Mayor. We're expecting, after many delays due to COVID, that the construction will start on November 29th. And these will be state-of-the-art, self-cleaning, permanent restrooms in the plaza available to anyone that needs them. So that's coming soon, along with a public art project and mural as part of it. We're all excited. It's taken longer than it should, but it's coming.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, Mr. Mayor, first of all, thank you for a great year as mayor. We've very much enjoyed working with you and sent you some emails that you probably didn't want to get, but I sent them to you anyway, and you were very good about it. So thank you for your service. Mr. City Manager, congratulations. You've done a very good job. You've worked very hard, and I've also sent you some emails you didn't want to receive, but I sent them to you anyway because you know I mean business. And I appreciate the fact that you have addressed me politely and business in a very business-like manner, and if not friendly, and I appreciate all your hard work. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season, because you've earned it, and get some rest. Now, I want to reiterate just exactly what Lupe said. The Cabrillo campus, the Watsonville Cabrillo campus, we have people going to the bathroom all the time. They're always going, they're not, and the bathrooms can't be open 24/7, and it's a real problem. They're defecating and urinating in public. The neighbors are complaining. It's also happening right behind my fence at 774 Bronte Avenue. I'm in District 7. Ari knows me well. She knows where I live. This isn't imagination, and it's gotten a lot worse. I'm glad to hear Matt say they're going to start on the 29th to put those bathrooms in because they really need it, and many places simply will not open restrooms to anybody, even as customers, and that's completely wrong. If you want our business, then you have to let us poop there. Okay, we all have to poop. Okay, you do too, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, this has to happen, and we got to make sure that the people who own businesses here let us poop. Okay. Now, sorry if that offends any of you. It wasn't meant to, but it's a real important issue. The other thing, I don't know if Nick is awake and listening, but Nick, I'm going to be attending the What Do We Do with Ramsey Park meeting on the 16th. Yeah, Nick, we need an aviary. There are cities around the country that have successful aviaries. Look at them. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I'm going to interject really quick here. Carlos, can you do a thank you?
Para las personas que necesiten traducción al español, pueden obtener uno de los audífonos a su mano derecha, acá enfrente en la caseta de interpretación. Puede prender el audífono, estamos en el canal 0. Cuélgueselo en el cuello con el frente hacia afuera. Si no puede oír, revise que el aparato esté encendido y sin obstrucciones. Y recuerde que solo funciona dentro de la Cámara del Concilio. Regréselo antes de partir. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Gracias. All right. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Ella King, and I am in Lowell Hurst's district for my restaurant, Ella's at the Airport, and I am here to open dialogue with the council and request the body to review qualifications of our current proposed assignee for Ella's at the Airport. We recognize that due to many changes of guard currently happening, council has a one mind of continuity currently, and we request its counsel specifically in regards to this assignment. We're concerned that the City Council has not been fully informed on this current assignment to a seasoned restaurateur, and we welcome the council to investigate for themselves the sound qualifications of this current candidate. We're concerned that the council has solely taken the opinion of the airport manager and not reviewed how the assignment is actually being conducted. The reason why we request this is because there's been no response from anyone at the city in regards to this. The current lack of communication is creating concern that there is only one other thing, which possibly is discrimination towards this assignee. She is amply qualified to take over this restaurant. She has her own restaurant at another General Aviation. Might be a little bit smaller than mine, but she's done a very good job by it, and supposedly the airport manager there loves her, so she's done an outstanding job. We request this appointment to be set and a resolution to this issue by the end of November. The current assignee's qualifications have been in front of the city management for the last 2 months, and she's still hopeful to bring her experience and new energy to our city and continue Ella's and its commitment to our community. Ms. Cello is hopeful. She's fulfilled all the received requirements by the city and has approved the proposed lease for Ella's. We are currently expired. Our lease is. We signed a city letter of intent for our lease renewal back on September 4th, 2 months ago, but we only received the new lease November 4th, just last week. Can I go on? I only have 30 seconds more, please. Thank you. And we were requested to review this with only hours to get in front of you guys for tonight. This is also adding to my great concern of how the city of Watsonville is treating our small businesses and leaseholds, me being one of them. I felt pressured by the city management into either signing the increased lease that is constrictive to me assigning it, or lose my years of hard work and dedication. The experienced lease attorney that I now have on it is reviewing the verbiage regarding this ability for my lease assignment. All this would not be necessary, getting attorneys involved, protecting my interests, if the city were to really, all of you, look at it and assign this qualified assignee. For the good of Watsonville and our community, we ask that the council invest time to review this assignment before Matt Huffaker leaves his position, because we trust him. We have time to set this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. We appreciate you and our community.
Point of order, does one need to be a resident in the city limits to address the council?
No.
Okay, then I'll fill out one of these quickly and address you, if you could just give me a second. I live in Royal Oaks, and of course I'm a longtime resident of the Paro Valley. My name is Kathleen King. I'm here tonight because I've just learned about the departure of Ella from running Ella's restaurant at the airport, and I think it calls for the opportunity to thank her profoundly for the service that her company has provided to our community, not only as one of the, if not the most successful restaurant ever to operate at that location at the airport, which is of critical importance to the folks who use the airport and the rest of the community, but also because of her philanthropy, her involvement as what I think of as a model business citizen. She has provided support free of charge to many organizations. She has been visible in the community at any number of nonprofit organizations providing food. She's operated with a quiet dignity and an amazing proficiency to make that restaurant successful. And I think we all owe her a debt of gratitude for the years that she has spent building a very successful business in that location. And I didn't want this departure to occur without someone saying that about this really important community leader. And I thank you for your attention. One other thing, Matt, never see you anymore because of various reasons, but I was distraught for our community and happy for you about your new work assignment and career change. So congratulations to you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
And where do we leave these?
You can just leave it there.
Right here? Okay.
Good evening. My name is John Adams, and I just wanted to take a minute to recognize you people in the city, Mayor Dutra, Matt, Alan. I want to thank you for all the help. I own the Kmart property at 1702 Freedom Boulevard, and Kmart shuttered its doors on August 22nd. And within 2 weeks, it was overrun with homeless squatters. and it became quite a health concern. And the response from the city, from the mayor's office, the police department, city manager's office, Alan, your council, we're able to go in there and get it cleaned up. And couldn't have done it without all you help. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ellie. I'm here to ask that we finalize and let PVA establish a much-needed art space for our community in the Porter Building. We just kind of stopped receiving updates on that. The city is filled with artists in spite of lack of spaces. For many years, we travel out and perform in other spaces in other cities. Esperanza del Valle is celebrating 40 years. They have a show at El Teatro Campesino in San Juan Bautista every year, and people travel religiously to go and see them. This is money that could be spent in Watsonville if we had such a space. The drag shows that have been happening this year have been so successful. Our artists need a space. That's money. That's money that we spend at drag shows. We spend a lot of money and drinks, and it's a lot. And people come out, like we're starving for art spaces for people to express their art. And the Porter Building would be an excellent spot for an art space. Artists need your support as well. If you drive down Mission in Santa Cruz, you'll see the many, many beautiful murals, but it's so hard to get beautiful art on our walls. And we have so many talented muralists here. Artists are not getting paid by the city to put up murals, and they have no incoming funds and are being asked for insurance on top of that. So I ask you cover insurance for our local artists and support them in beautifying our city with local arts and beautiful murals. We just had Carrasco put one up at the laundry. I don't know if you've seen it, full of strawberries. It's beautiful. We have so much wall space and so many muralists that could go, and they'll do it for free. But then when you tell them, oh, well, it's free, we can't pay you, but also we can't cover your insurance and you have to pay for insurance as well. These are artists that don't have as much income, right? The quote, starving artist is there for a reason. They don't get paid. When they come to the city, they're like, hey, we have this beautiful spot, we want to put it, and then on top of it, you're charging them and you're not giving them money. So I ask that you support our local artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. So anybody, any more comments on non-items on the agenda? Okay. Come back to the council. Councilmember Montesino.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I just want to share that I went to just a beautiful dedication today for Ria de Heart over at the towers in our community. She was a great advocate of education, always well-rounded in community, always giving of herself. And I also attended this weekend the Wine and Roses event, which is put on by the Health Trust Fund, which is a great event for the community. Encourage everyone, if you get an opportunity, it's a great event to attend. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurst.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm glad to see that we have a good audience here this evening. You know, with the time change, and you can see that by the clock on the wall, we're challenged by time change too. And I know that in my house, there's still some clocks that need to be reset. In fact, my clock needs to be reset on occasion too, and that's why I went to the Ag History Project dinner recently at the fairgrounds, a wonderful organization celebrating the wonderful ag history in our community. The Dia de los Muertos celebration, that was the best one ever. That was really tremendous and very colorful, and certainly wonderful altars and ofrendas of those in the community that we have lost but never forgotten. So our plaza is a special place, and I'm anxious, as everybody else is, to see its improvements. The Wine and Roses event, as Eduardo said, was a very positive thing. I want to thank Mr. Adams for attending this evening and his good work with the Kmart leases and trying to clean up that situation. I want to personally thank him for his cooperation and work, and good luck on that property. I also attended the Ria de Hart dedication at the school district's office on Green Valley. I thought it was ironic, though, in some ways, because Ria always campaigned for H-I-and-J, and one of those issues said, no, you can't name a building. But here it is. Ria's got her name right there on the building. And so Ria's always close to my heart, and she was a very inspirational person. Let me close with this quote that Ria says. You need to get involved with your community. It's the only way you get to make a difference, and making a difference is really important, and that's what life is about. Ria de Hart. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. I attended 11 meetings and events. Some were virtual and some were in person. One of the events in which I participated was the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership State of the Region. Topics of childcare, living with variance, increasing degree attainment, state and federal stimulus funding, housing, and racial bias in education were some of the areas addressed. One of the new learnings that I had was that there are 2 infrastructure federal bills. The traditional one to address roads, bridges, highways, transportation, and broadband passed Congress last Friday and will be signed by the President. What I did not understand is that there's a second social infrastructure bill called the Build Back Better bill, which will provide funding for child care, combat climate change, provide affordable care, and invest in affordable housing. That legislation still needs to be passed by both the House and the Senate. When all is done, Watsonville will be receiving more funding to address its local infrastructures. I'm sure our Finance Director, Cindy, will be informing us about it. A second learning was that Assemblymember Robert Rivas had a housing tour throughout California, and he will be providing a report on what was found and the cost of addressing the housing issues created by red tape and the infrastructures needed for new housing. I'm sure when that report comes out, our housing manager, Carlos, will inform us on that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to welcome and thank everyone for joining us tonight, and those watching at home, thank you as well. I have to echo Councilmember Hurst's sentiments on Dia de los Muertos. It was one of the first community events that I got to go out with my wife and my baby, and it was remarkable. It was beautiful. Thank you to everyone who built an altar. They were very moving. There was one for teachers that have passed away at Watsonville High. So I just want to thank the Watsonville Film Festival and Consuelo and her whole team for putting that on. I also want to thank everyone that came out and supported Wine and Roses. I work for the Health Trust. It was a great event. It was great to be back. It was great to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long time. So thank you for coming out. Ella was our caterer, and Ella's always been a big supporter, so thank you for that. And just thank you to staff and council and the community for being out there and just having some fun. And finally, I just would like to publicly thank the Community Health Trust. Friday is my last day with the Health Trust, and one of the reasons I think I was able to get elected was because of the work and the things that I've had the opportunity to do through the Health Trust. Kathleen is here, and Kathleen is the person who had faith in me and hired me at the Health Trust. So thank you, Kathleen, for having faith in me. And Caitlin and DeAndre, who took over from KK, and the entire staff. So it's a great organization. They do great work out in the community. So they will always have a special place in my heart. And I hope all of you will take a moment to maybe visit their website. And if they speak to you, feel free to support in one way or another. And those are my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Adams, for attending and for acknowledging the communication and the work that everybody did together and your follow-through. And it's very much appreciated. by the entire public, and I think all of the council has heard from the public in regards to the changes. So thank you so much for doing that. Dia de los Muertos, as a teacher, we delved into the understanding of it for those people who do not, regularly participate in it, but the ofrendas and the altars, that the students created. And then we're downtown, we're just amazing and beautiful, and the marigolds, just gorgeous. I got to drive to my school along Freedom Boulevard, and so got to enjoy those colors as well. We had our own at home, and my mom's 98 and a half, and it was really nice to be able to celebrate my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, and for her to recognize them and see all these pictures that we had and talk about the things that we ate and that they enjoyed, and it was just a great celebration. It's also nice to hear that Ria has a name, and yes, I appreciate the irony of that, Councilman Hurst, that she has a building named after her. And she'd smile and then laugh. She was a great believer in local government because you could walk down the street and knock on the door on a Saturday morning. And I don't know if you guys have had that experience, but I sure have with constituents. And that's as close as you're going to get to your local government. I appreciate the fact that we have booster shots that are available now for the general public, and that they're available at places like Rite Aid within the city, Walgreens, I think, and CVS. But I got to say, Rite Aid does a great job and keeps everything moving. And just this week, I know the Paro Valley Unified is going to be starting children's vaccine clinics for 5 through 11-year-olds. And they can sign up at their own schools. They can't just go to any school, but at their own schools they can do that. So much appreciated, but as there's a sigh of relief and then also a worry at the same time. But it helps to keep our economy going by having families feel more comfortable that they can take their kids out and participate and not worry so much. So that's available. And I don't know if we're going to have anything with the city. Are we going to have anything at the city level for children's boosters?
I know there's been coordination with the South County Triage Group and Save Lives. Tamani Vitas might have more detail, but we'll be sure to get that information out. I know that they've been working with the county, our county counterparts as well.
Great. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So 2 meetings left, 1 meeting after this. I was looking at coming over the rainbow, and then we are now losing Matt. So things are kind of been crazy the last couple weeks, but we're moving forward. We're trying to get everything put into place so that there's an easy transition. I know that the council and the staff, everyone wants to make this as easy as possible. We will miss Matt, but there's a lot going on in the city right now, so we appreciate all your support. Also, thank God Congress got their stuff together. We passed infrastructure bills, so hopefully we'll be looking for more funding coming to our city to address the issues of our infrastructure here in Watsonville. We've been very lucky over the past year and a half to be receiving funding to address a lot of important issues and needs in our community. One being hopefully Ramsey Park. So we look forward to seeing what this bill will offer our city. I also want to say thank you, Mr. Adams, for being here. I also see that you're a vet, so thank you for your service. Veterans Day is coming up on Thursday, so we thank you for your service and thank you for working with us to help resolve the issue at Kmart. We appreciate you. Absolutely, thank you. I also want to say thank you, Ella. You have been a real staple in our community. I hope that we can work through the issues that hopefully the council has heard today and helping find a solution with you. So thank you. You give so much to this community and we appreciate it, so thank you. I also want to say I went to the new Remax mixer. One of my friends, Gloria Mello, opened up I guess, annex store here for RE/MAX. I went to the Diversity Center open house. The Diversity Center was able to purchase their building. This was very big, and they went through a big fundraising efforts to make that happen. I went to a trunk or treat at the fairgrounds. I went out there not knowing what to expect. Wow, hundreds of kids trunk or treating. I didn't go to it last year, so I had no idea what to really expect, but it was really great. So thank you everybody who helped put that on. I think the city put on a candy crawl. So thank you, Nick, for all your hard work and the parks and your team. We appreciate everything that you guys do for our city. As you know, we just are wrapping up our Main Street Holiday Lights campaign. We're going to be getting beautiful lighting downtown. I think we have over close to 60 banners of local businesses and families who have supported this cause. We've raised over $30,000, and I'm blown away by all the support this city has done for this, so thank you. I also, with CAB, we saluted Helen Ewan Story for her many years of dedication to the community and for CAB. I also went to the Ria DeHart dedication of the building today, was able to give a proclamation. Like I said earlier, Ria and I, we may not have always agreed on everything, but she was definitely a huge advocate in this community. So with that, I will move on with the meeting. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see here. We are going to do a Pink Patch project presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Carlos, Angie, how you guys doing? Hey, tonight I'm going to talk very quickly about our Pink Patch project. We started this project 5 years ago, joining other police agencies throughout the country to bring attention to the fight against breast cancer and to support breast cancer research organizations. For us, it initially began with these pink patches. These are the original patches we used 5 years ago. And we did it to support, well, I should say, we wear these patches every October, which is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But before I continue on and say a little bit more, I just wanted to show you a very quick video, one that we have used over the past couple of years to demonstrate why we're so passionate about this program.
Cuando escuchas la palabra cáncer, piensas que vas a morir, ¿verdad? Pero cuando recibes apoyo emocionalmente, sabes que hay una esperanza para seguir. Pensé que iba a morir. El miedo sigue. Si no fuera por este lugar, la verdad, no sabría qué había hecho.
We have lots of support groups, we offer yoga, we have a wonderful class called Look Good, Feel Better for patients who are expected to be going through chemotherapy. That offers makeup classes, teach the ladies how to draw their eyebrows on, and we offer a free wig to all of the oncology patients who are expected to be going through treatment. We're able to be here to embrace them, to help them through these difficult journeys, and to educate them, and to just help fill the holes in their journey.
Es difícil la palabra cáncer, no es fácil, pero tiene uno que seguir adelante.
So the first year we started, we raised $6,000, and at the time, it seemed like a tremendous amount of money. We were very proud of that, but it's never enough. The campaign evolved over the years to include other Watsonville Police Pink Patch merchandise and more outreach to our local businesses. That outreach, fortunately, led to our partnership with Chaz Design, and I need to give them a good shout out because they once again stepped up and provided at no cost the special pink wrap for our patrol car and donated time and money to our campaign. Thank you, Chaz, at Chaz Design for your continued support. I know there's a couple of you in the audience So just give a little wave. Thanks, guys. Now for the big news. This year, we surpassed even our own expectations, raising over $21,000.
Wow.
So this brings the grand total for the past 5 years to an amazing $70,000. But as much as that is, what's even more special, every penny of this goes to support local Watsonville families impacted by breast cancer. Honestly, we couldn't have done it without the help of our generous sponsors and all the community members who participated in this project, but also the amazing men and women of the Watsonville Police Department who are the driving force behind this program. I especially want to thank Hilda Figueroa, who's back there, Liz Souza, CJ, also known as Charles Johnson, David Rodriguez, Mike McKinley, who's also back there. But I would be remiss if I didn't give a very special thanks to our very own Michelle Polito, who has dedicated countless hours for making this program even more special. Thank you, Michelle. Now I'd like to turn it over to our good friend and partner, Renee Gonzalez, who represents CATS Cancer Resource Center, to say a few words. Thank you, Renee.
Hi, thank you. The CATS Cancer Resource Center is so humbled by the support of the Watsonville PD and all of the girls who have supported the program and really have gone out to the community and done a lot of fundraising. I'm very fortunate to have been a police cadet when I was a teenager and also a recipient of the Community Health Trust when I was going through school. So I've been an oncology nurse for 17 years now in this community and helped translate for all the Hispanic ladies that come in. So I just wanted to let you guys know that with some of the funds, we did hold a wonderful breast cancer screening event for all the patients who missed their screenings during COVID and were too afraid to come in. So we had a total of 40 patients who came in and were screened. A lot of patients from South County. We did a lot of outreach to Salud, and it was a wonderful event. So I just want to say thank you so much. And we have continued our support groups over Zoom, and then we've continued to keep our center open as well and made sure all of our oncology patients were vaccinated. So, I'd like to present Katie too.
Hi, I'm Katie Pagliaro. I'm the clinical coordinator at the CAT Center. I don't think that we have all the right words to say how grateful we are for the Watsonville PD and the Watsonville Fire Department for raising these funds. I think that we've always felt like our job has been really important in the cancer community, but I think since the past year and a half, since COVID, everything has just really seems to be much more important for us to be there. Patients are going through treatment alone. They can't have visitors with them. People are going through incredible financial hardships right now, as well as so many mental health challenges. And so with this money, we are able to touch people's lives in ways that we wouldn't be able to without you and without the community. And we're just beyond grateful for that. We've also paid for somebody from South County. We make sure that we really earmark the funds for South County patients. We were able to pay for somebody's radiation treatment bill that they weren't able to cover, as well as it's cold caps. It's for somebody going through breast cancer treatment and breast cancer patients, South County breast cancer patients. So when somebody's going through breast cancer treatment, they lose their hair, and there's something called cold caps that people can do, which is a very labor-intensive process and expensive to try to save their hair while going through treatment. And so we were able to cover that for somebody, in addition to this breast cancer screening event, which we are so proud of. And we're still waiting for the invoices to come in, but we think there's going to be 7 people that were unable, had no insurance, no community doctor. And so we're going to cover those mammograms for them. And we were able to get them connected with a mobile wellness van, get them connected with doctors, programs like Every Woman Counts, so that they have more continuity of care in the future. There was people from the homeless shelter, they hadn't had mammograms in 5 years. People from Las Lomas, as well as Corralitos. We marketed almost solely to South County, Salud, so that we could get as many South County patients up there. and I would say 80% of the patients were Spanish speaking, so I was so glad that Renee was there to help translate and speak to them also. We hope to be able to hold this screening event every year, and we hope to figure out a way to get it actually in Watsonville. So I just want to say thank you again. We're so grateful for you guys.
Well, thank you again, and if I can get a round of applause for these two ladies and the work that they've been doing, as well as the whole Cats Cancer Resource Center, thank you very much. And so, on behalf of the Watsonville Police Department, we would like to present this monstrous check. Yeah, very heavy. I need some help lifting this. Check is great for photo opportunities, but not so much for the bank. But we do have a smaller check for the bank. So thank you very much, ladies, for being here today.
Thank you all. That's screenings. We need to make sure that that's happening in our community. I know people during COVID were afraid to go to the doctor, so thank you for making it a safe place for them to go. All right. Okay, thanks. Oh yeah, definitely. So this is I like to, on behalf of myself and the City Council, recognize people and organizations throughout our city for all the good work that they've done over the years, and that they can, and also to recognize we have a lot of months that are celebrated. So maybe Mayor Pro Tem would like to come up here and present this, since it's Native American Indian Heritage Month, and our Mayor Pro Tem is part of this community. So, and I would like to bring up at this time who's going to be receiving who's receiving this? Anybody? Or Alejandra? Who? Patrick Roscoe? Oh.
He's looking at us.
I was like, it's, come on up, sir. Okay, do you want to go in the middle between me and Ari, or do you want to?
I'll hold, let me just
I was going to
hold
read
it.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Native American Indian Heritage Month, whereas American Indian Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate their rich and varied cultures and traditions, and whereas it is also a time to learn about the unique challenges faced by this group, both past and present, and how they have worked to overcome them, whereas our nation has been deeply impacted by tribal communities, which predate the founding of any state by centuries. And whereas from military service to agriculture to water conservation, natives have consistently played a significant role in shaping the future of this country. And whereas, although the United States was founded on the belief that we are all deserving of equal treatment, dignity, and opportunities, we have many times fallen short of fulfilling the promise of these ideals for Native peoples. Whereas the work of Native American leaders has sought to bridge racial and socioeconomic gaps by empowering and educating people to protect their heritage. And whereas this land was first inhabited by the Ohlone, formerly known as the Costanoans, who settled along the Pajaro Dunes due to its usefulness for the cultivation of their plants and the raising of their animals. And whereas it is important to pay respect to those who came before us and helped make Watsonville the vibrant city that it is today. So, therefore, myself and the entire City Council, especially the Mayor Pro Tem, we hereby recognize November as National American Indian Heritage Month and encourage all members of the community to reflect on the history and other contributions of Indigenous people to our society. So thank you, congratulations. Would you like to say a few words?
Please say a few words.
Well, you know, I was born here in Watsonville 82 years ago, over 32 Walker Street. It's about 200 feet from the Pajaro River. Through the years, I learned everything my grandma had to share with me about the life of our people. 10,000 years. That's how, and I'm proud to say I'm a direct descendant of the people that walked these lands 10,000 years ago. You know, the first Europeans to arrive here was Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, and then Vizcano, Sebastian Vizcano, and then Gaspar Portora. Gaspar Portora is the one that arrived here in Watsonville in 1769, October the 8th. There was no Watsonville here. It was all Native Americans, you know. I've researched all his traveling on his soldier logs, you know, so I know where he crossed the river. He named the river Pajaro Bird, and he named it for a reason, you know. And I can go on and on and on, but I go to the schools and universities. I teach them the history of our people. I teach them the language, what language is left, you know. I sing the songs, you know. And before I leave this, I really appreciate this proclamation. If my ancestors are still here, I shed tears for them. But I'm proud to sing a song for you. I call it Song of the Coast. Tuaya emakaya ema. Tuaya emakaya ema. Emakaya emakaya ema. Emakaya emakaya ema. Emakaya emakaya ema. Tuaya emakaya ema. That's called Song of the Coast. I understand that our people, once a year, probably in the springtime, would walk down to the ocean and thank the Creator God for what the ocean provides, the fish, everything they depended on. Do you know, before Europeans arrived here, there was no such thing as pollution. The explorers came in to disturb the people that were living in peace and harmony with this earth, keeping the land clean. There was no pollution because we didn't have paper, cloth, or metal. That didn't exist. That was brought to us. The animal life that was brought, our cattle, all that, we didn't have all that, you know. The native animals that we had with like Dewo, the elk, Ordesh, the bear, all these animals. This is why I teach the children in schools, you know. They don't know the history behind the Bay Area here, the whole state of California, you know. And I'm proud to hear Ari Parker, her grandmother knew my grandmother here in Watsonville, you know. Martha Cano Archidias, right? Yeah. So, you know, we had the enrollments. They didn't know, the kids didn't know that the Indians still existed. They were still here. But we were afraid to disclose who we were because it was dangerous to be Indian. It was dangerous, you know. I can go on and on, but I don't want to talk about the bad things that happened to our people, you know. It's a long story, you know. And I can say that the explorers invaded Mexico before they invaded California, and the same system occurred there. The missionaries that came there, they took our names away, took our ways of life, our dances, our songs, everything. They took all that away from us and taught us the Spanish language, the Spanish way, you know. But it didn't work because I'm still here. And if you want to go on, order my book, Amazon. It's called We Are All Related.
I love that plug.
Just want to say with Patrick, you heard a little bit of it. I've been a teacher for 34 years. He's been educating students and the public about the ways of the people for decades before that. And I want to thank you for all the people that you've helped with that.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. And buy his book, Amazon. All right. Does it matter the order that I'm in? I guess I'll just go with Corrigan's. Okay. Corrigan's. Come on up, please. So this is the Corrigan family. If you ever, the Christmas tree lot that's in the East Lake Shopping Center, this was started by them, and I know Gus isn't here right now, so, and Gus is a big part of this, so he does a lot of the work. But they've been there for several years, and they're also good friends of myself, and I'm very appreciative. And I went to high school with both Alex and Katie, and lifetime Watsonville families here, so appreciate it. All right, so this proclamation is for Corrigan's Christmas trees, whereas Corrigan's Christmas trees. Can I get my glasses? Like, this is like getting like,
I can hold it at a distance for you.
thanks, I know, like, what happens? Thank you. I was gonna mean, we need to go grab them. Thank you. I'm trying to get used to this. Okay, so the Corrigan's Christmas Trees, which also sells holiday wreaths, has been a part of Watsonville for 30 years, having been started by Jack Corrigan as a way to help his kids, Julie, John, and Katie, earn extra money. John is not here this evening, and Jack passed on, but he'll forever be around. Whereas Jack and his wife Barbara, right here, grew up in Watsonville and moved around for several years before settling back in their hometown in 1988. And whereas Jack and John were instrumental in getting the business up and running and handling the day-to-day operations, and whereas after several years, John stepped back to focus on raising his children, at which point Julie's husband, Gus, became Jack's right-hand man. And whereas when Jack passed away in 2015, the family had to decide if they wanted to continue the business in his absence. And whereas the family ultimately decided Jack would have wanted them to carry on and have since kept their doors open in his memory. And whereas after working side by side with Jack for several years, Gus moved into a leadership role while Julie handles administrative tasks behind the scenes, and Katie as well, along with her mom Barbara and her husband Alex. And they help wherever help is needed. And whereas Corrigans often donate trees to local nonprofits such as the Pajaro Valley Loaves and Fishes, the Salvation Army, and to businesses like Cal Giant, and to the recent evening with the mayor and Parks and Community Services, thank you. And whereas Jack would regularly give back to his alma mater, Watsonville High School, and was very generous to people who couldn't afford a tree. And whereas everyone who helps run Corrigans loves being a part of the local family's holiday traditions and seeing people they first met as kids grow into adults and return with their own kids. Now, therefore, myself, the mayor of Watsonville, as well as the city council behind myself and the mayor pro tem, hereby recognize Corrigan's Christmas Trees for being a shining example of what it means to be a family-owned business and wish for them to continue being a part of the community for many years to come. Congratulations. Julie, okay. The teacher.
I thought it was going to be Katie. Thank you very much, Mayor Dutra. We really do love being a part of this community, and it can be a big headache, and it is a lot of work, but it's really special for us to be out there for that month before Christmas, seeing people go through that joy, especially the little ones, of finding their perfect Christmas tree, and then coming back year and year after, coming back every year and telling us how much they enjoyed the tree and being a part of that tradition. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we good? Okay. Thank you, Corrigans. Thank you. Don't have the camera? After work, we'll get one later.
Oh, wait, Mom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, who do we have next? All right, Conchita. That's you. Come on up. I know. Well, thank you. We're excited to have you. I'm excited to be giving you this, and tomorrow I'm going to come by and have some whatever we're celebrating with.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so this is going to be going to Conchita Esther Gonzalez from Conchita's Ice Cream and Pastry, whereas Conchita is the proud owner of Conchita's. I know, I'm trying. Conchita is the proud owner of Conchita's Ice Cream and Pastry, which has served Watsonville for nearly 25 years. Located right here at 15 East Beach Street as one of Plaza Vigil's first merchants. And whereas Conchita has lived here since the age of 7 and attended local schools, Minnie White Elementary, EA Hall, Falcons, like myself, and Watsonville High School. Before starting her business, Conchita worked in the canneries as a licensed beautician, although her dream was always to own her own ice cream shop. And whereas Conchita is known for her cheerful greetings, smiles, and willingness to help others in any way she can. Yes, I can see that, yes. Whereas her business not only serves ice cream, but has become a gathering hub for those in need of company, a shoulder to cry on, or a helping hand. And whereas Conchita and her husband, Juan Roberto, are proud parents of 4 children and grandparents to 1 grandson. Oh, we have another one. No, only one. Okay, okay. And whereas Conchita's ice cream and pastry will remain in the hearts of friends and customers, many who are second generation. And whereas although her contract is set to expire soon, Conchita and her business will be fondly remembered by all those who know her. I hope have we found a spot yet for the next place? So therefore, myself, Jimmy Dutra, the entire city council, hereby recognize Conchita Esther Gonzalez as Conchita's ice cream and pastry for decades of serving up sweet treats and smiles to the community, and wish her success in her future endeavors. Yes, felicidades.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate, oops, sorry about that.
No.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Lupita, Martita. I love you guys. And you're welcome to come anytime, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Conchita. Appreciate it. Can you get a picture? Okay. Oh. Oh, so sweet. All right, thank you. Tomorrow's thing, 4 o'clock, or everyone come on by. Conchita is 4 o'clock. You want to say something? I know.
I just want to say that Conchita is a jewel in Watsonville. I don't know if any of you have ever been to her ice cream place, but she always has a smile for everyone. She helps everybody that comes in there. I've never seen her say any negative thing to anyone. The homeless come in there. Sometimes they're hungry. She's feeding them. She's giving them, sometimes she's got a storage place where she's got extra food, extra cans of things, and she's always willing to share with them. I bring her things, says, here, share with the community, and she does that. Somebody needs to come to go to the bathroom. Here's the key. You can go to the bathroom. So she's there to help everybody. So she will be sorely missed. We love her, and we're going to miss her. We don't know whether they're going to really make her close down after this year. She might have an extension, but we're hoping it'll be another extension. But we will miss her if she's gone, and the city will miss her when she's gone. So thank you for honoring her. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rivas. All right. I know. I'm just getting used to the whole back and forth, right? Fatima, Franco. So, hello, my friends. Hello. So this is going to be this proclamation is for Fatima and Franco Vaca. Whereas local business owners Fatima and Franco Vaca know the meaning of working hard to achieve your dreams and to see that work pays off. Whereas the Vacas started their business out of a 500 square foot space in the discount mall off of Main Street, and grew steadily for 20 years before constructing their new building on the corner of Main and 2nd Street. Whereas now the new home to Fatima's Fine Jewelry, the upstairs offices house their financial service business, allowing them to offer in-house credit. And whereas Fatima's offers a vast array of jewels, from engagement and wedding sets to special occasion pieces and fine watches. And whereas the Vacas take immense pride in the good relationships they have established with their customers, some of whom are 3rd generations. And whereas Fatima remembers the challenges of shopping with young children, as she and Franco have 2 daughters and a son, and thus designed the store keeping families in mind with a kids' corner that includes toys and a TV. And whereas aside from jewelry sales, Fatima and Franco are dedicated to offering a full range of services, including custom design and reimagining of family pieces. And whereas Fatima enjoys bringing new life to old pieces while keeping the heritage and memories attached to them intact. So therefore, myself and the entire city council recognize Fatima and Franco Vaca's businesses, which provide high-quality products and great customer service to all those who visit their locales, and wishing them continued success for years to come. Congratulations. And El Pollero is yours as well, right? So they also own El Pollero here on the corner. So delicious. You need to try that out as well. I also went to school with Fatima as well, so it's good to see when people are coming back to our community and really making a difference here. So thank you to you both. I consider you friends, and I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you. But just quickly, I just want to say that I'm very proud to be not born in Wattsville, but grown in Wattsville for sure. And our community has done so much for us. We support a lot of our local businesses and schools as well. So just thank you for all the support. We've been there since 1995. I don't know what I would do. Anything else. And we're always happy to help, so come and see us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh. Thank you. Thank you to all the recipients. We really appreciate you all. So it's really nice when we see people who were, raised in the community come back and can continue to give to our economy. That's what makes our community. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for helping me as well.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations on the awareness for your month, and it's nice. Okay. Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, it was kind of hot.
Oh my God. Let's see here. That is done. So we're moving on to our consent agenda at this time. If there is anybody in the public who would like to comment on the consent agenda, this is your time to do it. Consent agenda. Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion. Oh, yep.
Hi, Council. I'd like to address 7D, I believe. And I want to argue for a second off the fact that PBUSD made the short-sighted decision to put cops on campus. I don't for a second want cops on campus with my teenager. We know firsthand the trauma that can bring. But regardless, I ask the city to donate the $70,000 back to our kids. WHS does not have enough teachers or substitutes or counselors. And a huge reason of that is our budget. Our school board doesn't know how to budget, but that's not neither here nor there. The point is, you're taking a lot of money off my kids' school, which is already underfunded. So I ask that you waive your fee for the rest of the year. WPD already gets paid so much more than most of our community, than most city employees. They get the most funding, the most in taxes, the most off of Measure Y. If there's a department that can afford to waive this $70,000 plus fee, it's this one. Cops do not belong on campus. Cops do not prevent conflict. Teachers and counselors do, and we should invest in them. Cops are statistically known to profile children that look like mine. This isn't hyperbole. It's been studied, and it's a fact. So again, I ask, instead of feeding the school to prison pipeline and robbing our children from funds at the same time, I ask that the $70,000 for the remainder of the year be waived. $70,000 for just the remainder of the year is a lot. $500,000 for 3 officers a year was way too much. WPD has a multi-million-dollar budget, so $70,000 is nothing to them. So I ask that you give it back to our kids and see what our teachers can do with $70,000. They're so ridiculously underpaid. They're unsupported, right? So give them $70,000 and watch the magic that they can do. The sheriff in Santa Cruz said that he'd do it for free. So I ask you to rise to the same challenge and waive the fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie.
I rise to concur with Ellie. She's absolutely right. There are 4 of you, 2 of you current employees, PVUSD, and 2 of you former. You know she speaks the truth. You know that PVUSD needs teachers and many other positions as well. You've been historically underpaid. I know. I was at Rolling Hills Middle School 1 year. I had to take a salary cut to take the job. And then, of course, when I got booted because I was openly gay in 2001, I left, went over the hill, got a job for the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and immediately my pay went up $20,000 a year. So, folks, she's right. Let's let the police department absorb this cost. $70,000 really belongs in PVUSD because the needs are so great, and they're lacking so many people, folks. The other issue I want to address very quickly is the fact that the EV charging stations. Mr. Mayor, we need to get an EV charging station at Cabrillo, Watsonville campus. Joe Biden is signing into law for 500,000 new charging stations. We need more in the city, and then both of us can take our new electric cars down to the Cabrillo site and get them recharged. So I'm hoping that this will pass, and we need to get this done. And again, yes, Pajaro Valley Healthcare District, boy, do we need this. Most people can't afford a trip to the hospital. It's too damn expensive. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And yes, I look forward to my electric car, so we need some.
Buenas noches, everybody. We are going to miss you. I remember going into your space. I worked at CAB, and that community space is what we need more of. That's what this community needs, spaces like that. That's what creates safety, spaces like that. With that said, I'd also like to address Section 7D. We just sat here and acknowledged the indigenous community for the work that they're doing, and we continue to do the practices of killing the Indian and saving the man. The reality is that through these lock up and throw away the key approaches, we are approaching our next generations from a deficit-based perspective, one that highlights what is wrong with me instead of what is right with me. Placing SROs in schools sends a clear message that the need of policing from a deficit-based perspective, one that also creates harm, one that further divides our communities, I think we really need to address and redefine what public safety means for all of us, not just for a section of our community. SROs, with all their good intentions, unfortunately also produce unintended consequences. Unfortunately, I've had to navigate some of these things in the next 2 weeks, and I spoke to you about it, Rebecca, right? We're navigating these things. We say things in these city council meetings, but what's happening out there is very different. And I hear folks talk about it, but then what their actions are out there are very, very different. And that's not doing that up there. That's not creating unity through cooperation. As our elders have taught us, we need to welcome with open arms and embrace these young people for who they are and not what we want them to be. Let's not kill the Indian. Let's uplift this culture. Let's uplift the teachings and the medicines. And let's remember that we are all interconnected here. Let's remember this concept of en la quech. Tú eres mi otro yo. When you hurt me, I hurt you. Let's think about these things in this way. Let's approach our community from this space. Let's start building and budgeting our values and really investing in our communities. Let's really, $70,000 ain't much to them. For us, it's a lot. That's all we're asking, a little bit. We're starving here. We just want a little piece of the pie too. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night. Congratulations, Matt. None of this is personal. I hope you know that. This is all about a system, and you just happen to be on the other side. But thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Any other comments on the consent agenda? All right, we'll bring it back to council. Councilmember Montesino?
Yeah, I move staff recommendation.
Okay. Second, Lowell. Councilmember Hirsch, second.
But I also have comment.
Okay, go ahead.
7C, I have a question. Is that how many, 6,000, 35-gallon green organics? Is that because we don't, not everyone has a green receptacle?
That's correct, Councilmember Montecito, but Christian Dorenzo, our Public Works Director, can speak to that in more detail.
That's correct. About 45% of the community does not currently participate in a green organics program, so we have to pivot in the beginning of the year and take that citywide across all residential households.
Thank you. We're making people aware that they're going to have to,
Yeah,
receive another.
we're working on a strategy and a marketing plan, and we've actually begun our very first commingled route about 10 days ago, and we'll continue to really push that message out as we wait for the carts to be delivered in March.
Thank you.
I think a few people have questions for you. Can you just wait 1 second? Do you have a question for him or no?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm sorry. It has to do with that. I'm one of them, and a lot of people in the senior community are. There's not a lot of room to put a third one. They have 2 of them. So you kind of glossed over it, but what is the plan and being able to communicate that out to the community?
Well, we've talked about this for a while last year as we went through the rate study process. We were on hold waiting for Embark to communicate to us whether we could go to a 3-cart system, or the worst case scenarios was that we would have to have a 4-cart system. Would they not be able to accept commingled green organics? The 35-gallon cart is appreciably smaller than your traditional 68-gallon cart or even your 95-gallon cart some residents happen to have. It's a relatively small footprint. They have it in Santa Cruz. This is really the best scenario that we could do. This is the best footprint that we could really hope for. Our pilot program indicated that that each household generates approximately 21 gallon of organic, so we didn't want to upsize too much, but we don't have a lot of cart manufacturers that make prefabricated sizes for us. So we looked for a sort of commonality between what would allow for a little bit of growth in the organics, knowing that some people may actually take advantage of now having the option to dispose of their green waste they may otherwise not had. So we want to provide that, but not have such an egregiously large cart that it would severely impinge on the footprint for residentials. So we will start with a campaign in the new year, and we will slowly look to roll that out between April and June 30th. So based on when we will get delivery of the cards. And we'll provide as much guidance as we can, not only about the footprint, but about what can be in the container and what shouldn't be in the container. Like meat products and liquids shouldn't go in your commingled cart. So we're getting all of that triaged and ready to go.
I think my question falls upon the commingled part of it. I believe in past conversations, the idea of maybe combining the tree and shrub recycled with the organic waste was a conversation in order to kind of not have our community, in my case, it would be 4 containers because I already have 3, so it would be a 4th container.
Right.
Because you have the blue recycling, you have the green shrub, and then you have your black garbage, and this will be a 4th. So is that no longer going to happen? We can't
You will
commingle them?
continue with your current 3-cart system. You won't get another cart. Those carts like REs that only have 2 carts, you will get a 3rd one. So citywide, all residentials will have 3 carts.
So you can commingle them then?
Yes.
Commingle will happen. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. All right, any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, well, it wasn't questions, but I just want to make a comment on 7D. I think this is a great program for the school district. They finally came to some senses, I think, because how I view it is another parent being there, and another set of eyes where we can have some community support there. And also, it's great to see the establishment of the Pajaro Valley Health Trust District. Hopefully, we can move forward on this in the future.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right?
Yeah.
Oh, one more?
I just want to say, make a comment on 7J and say thank you to Director Miriam and her crew for organizing the application for the State Cannabis Equity Grant for our equity partners here. And that's much appreciated. I know it's a lot of work. And I just very much appreciate their opportunity in this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Estrada,
No on D, yes on the rest.
Garcia,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Dutra.
Yes. All right.
The motion carries.
Okay, now we're going to be talking about our downtown Watsonville specific plan. We have been working on this downtown plan for years. It feels like it's starting to come towards an end, so this is great. And this will be presented by oral report by Community Development Director Miriam, but that may not be the case. I see Justin Meek.
All right, we're just getting the presentation all lined up. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the public. I'm Justin Meek, Principal Planner with the Community Development. To my left here is Simran Mahorta. She's with Remy Associate, and she's leading the consultant team and helping in this effort. We wanted to take an opportunity tonight to share with you the status of the project, the work that's been done to date, which has been quite a lot, and also go over some key highlights and provide an opportunity for you guys to provide some input as we think through some reimagining Main Street and some of the trade-offs that will go into greater detail in a little bit on what we're envisioning could happen here, given the limited right-of-way that's available and what we've heard from the community so far. In addition, we wanted to share with you some of the key considerations around other portions of the downtown specific plan, and most specifically around Walker Street, around industrial development and the types of redevelopment might be possible in that area. So with that, I want to turn it over to Simran to give you a very comprehensive presentation. This will also be made available online, so we can use that as a resource for reference. So we're going to try to touch on it relatively quickly and then be available to answer questions. Thank you.
Mayor Dutra and the members of the City Council, it's nice to see you all in person again. The last time I gave you an update was in early March, and we were all remote then, so it's nice to be here. I'm here today to give you an update on all the work that's been ongoing on the specific plan in the last 6-8 months or so, and we've made a lot of progress. We are getting to, as I'll walk you through this presentation, we are getting to the writing of the specific plan document, and we are looking at starting the environmental work in spring of next year. The downtown specific plan, as you can see from the slide in front of you, it covers an area of about 200 acres in downtown. And I won't spend too much time describing the boundaries, but I would just mention that the specific plan will set forth the vision for downtown, but also set in place the regulatory framework for zoning, uses, and other improvements for both the private realm as well as the public environment. This specific plan is funded through a grant from Caltrans. So very briefly, walking through what we've done over the last 8 or 9 months. In terms of the overall process, we have completed existing conditions work, prepared guiding principles and vision themes, as well as an overall framework. And in 2021, we developed alternatives, and all through this time, we received feedback from the advisory committee as well as from the community at large. We also conducted a survey that I'll share some of the findings from a little bit later in the presentation. After the meeting tonight, we'll kick off the development of the plan, and then, as I mentioned, start on the EIR, planning on coming back to you all for a final review and adoption in summer and fall of next year. In terms of engagement, this slide shows all the engagement that's been done for the entire process, but since March, we have had 2 advisory committee meetings, a community-wide workshop, as well as a community-wide survey. In terms of the actual work that went in, we worked with the advisory committee and the community to highlight what the big ideas for downtown should be. We refined the vision for various character areas or sub-areas and what the priorities for those should be, and then develop recommendations and refinements for the street and the bicycle network in conjunction with Caltrans. We also looked at some conceptual plans for various opportunity sites. So very briefly, what we have heard so far in terms of big ideas, and these will all seem familiar to you because we've discussed these previously. The big vision ideas for downtown are to retain its charming and historic character and architecture, to build on and expand on its walkable scale, and to bring in new uses, special events, and programming to make it a more active place so that it's an 18-hour downtown and hence more successful. And to also provide more housing choices and maintain affordability, to bring in different housing at different price points so that it can continue to be accessible to those who are already here as well as new residents. In terms of the public environment, one of the big ideas is to reimagine Main Street, to prioritize the pedestrian experience and to create a sense of place, and to provide additional street improvements and to improve bicycle and pedestrian safety while addressing traffic, speed, and congestion issues. So starting with some of the details of the street network. As you know, currently there are 2 Caltrans routes that run through downtown. We have 129, which runs on Riverside Drive, and then SR 152, which runs on Lake, Beach, and Main Street. In the short term, the vision is to maintain the one-way couplet on Lake and Beach, and over the long term, the goal is to make Lake 2-way and to have Beach Street be removed from the couplet. This would allow for a variety of benefits for the city, which I'll discuss a little bit later. This graphic just shows what are the advantages of converting from a one-way couplet to 2-way conversions. And these are tied to improved traffic safety, improved access for pedestrians, bicyclists, and even vehicles, and improved visibility for businesses as cars are a little bit slower going by and people can get to the businesses that they are looking for easier and not have to circle around to come back if they move past one too fast. This slide shows the vision for Main Street. The image on the left shows what Main Street could be in the short term, which is using painted bulb outs on the street, allow for expanded facilities for pedestrians with parklets, in more streetscape improvements with street trees, parking, on-street parking that continues to provide a buffer from the traffic, And in the long term, with additional landscaping and more permanent bulb outs. And this can be achieved by essentially what's called a road diet, which is to take away one lane in the southbound direction, in the northbound direction to allow for that conversion. Similarly, on Beach Street, the one-way to two-way conversion allows for narrowed lane widths. As you know, Beach Street in certain portions have very wide lanes. And to reclaim that right-of-way to provide more parking, parklets, space for more landscaping. And then again, like on Main Street, allow for more permanent improvements later. A mid-block crossing at Beach Street is also being recommended. Similarly, on Lake Street, initially a one-way right-of-way and improvements, and then switching over to a two-way format. In terms of the bicycle network, there are 4 types of bicycle facilities that you would typically see. I won't walk through what each one of these mean individually, but I would say that right today in downtown you see Class 1 along the Pajaro River Levee Trail, and then Class 2 on Rodriguez Street, and then there are Class 3 or bike routes on several other streets within downtown. And this map essentially shows the same. The lines in blue are the existing Class 2 streets where there's a separated bike lane, and then the rest of the streets have essentially either a Shero marking, which is the green striping on the street, which tells bicyclists and vehicles that they need to share the road. The proposed bicycle network helps expand the connectivity within for the bicycle network by moving bike traffic and the bike lanes off of the major streets which have a lot of traffic. So as you can see, there's no recommendation for bike lanes on Main, Lake, Beach, or Riverside, which is where the traffic is concentrated. Instead, it moves to other streets to create a more accessible and connected network to allow for better access and safety for bicyclists. Now, switching gears to the downtown character areas and opportunity sites, you have seen a version of this map before. Based on input we received from you all, the advisory committee and the community, we made some modifications to it. As you can see, there are 8 character areas that I'll walk through briefly in the next few slides, so I won't spend the time on this map. The historic downtown core is at the heart of downtown. It's the area surrounding the Watsonville Plaza and is surrounded by historic buildings. This area will continue to be the focus of the downtown specific plan, and when it's implemented, the most intense activity here, which is focused on pedestrians, retail, commercial, and other types of active uses. Here's an example of how a site might change and transform within downtown. The animations on the slide are a little bit are not showing up, but I will walk you through this very quickly. So this is the Mansion House block bounded by Main Street, Beach, Alexander, and East Lake. And right now, the Union Brennan Street runs right through it. In the past, as you can see from the historic image on the right, the connection between Union and Brennan did not exist. That was put in place somewhere in the 50s or even maybe early 60s. The suggestion here is that if the original street network is restored, so the Alexander becomes a connector to to Beach Street, then this segment, which is shown in the dotted red, could be vacated to create a larger parcel for development. As you can see in this image, with the vacation of Union Street, you can create a parcel which allows for a parking structure as well as commercial and residential uses, and creates a plaza in front of on Beach Street where Union would dead end to create a public space, a kind of a counterfoil to the larger Watson, the historic plaza. It also allows for the creation of internal paseos and pathways within the block to provide for additional connectivity for pedestrians. The Civic Corps, which is essentially the area where the building we are in, as well as the city-owned properties across Main Street and the fire station property of Rodriguez and the post office block. The vision here is to continue on the civic uses, but also take advantage of the existing opportunities with the City Hall block since these are publicly owned properties, to leverage that to create a new development on this site. So the block that you see, which is labeled 1, is the existing City Hall with the Civic Campus, and then the post office site could potentially transform in the long term. As you can see in this slide, along Main Street, you could have a mixed-use residential development facing the Civic Plaza, and then towards Union Street, you could have neighborhood-scale development that's compatible with what's going on the east side of Union Street. The post office site can be transformed. Oops. The post office site could be broken down into smaller groups, creating a connection across and creating smaller blocks which enhance walkability. With regard to the other character areas, and I'll go through these quickly, commercial flex, which is the main street outside of the downtown core, as well as Rodriguez Street. The vision is to continue a similar character there, but with some flexibility in uses. The Gateway District, which is the main entry from the Pajaro River to have gateway signage as well as monuments and prominent buildings that could be built there to mark entry into downtown. Residential flex, which is along Brennan Street to allow for new housing, whether they are standalone residential projects or as vertical mixed-use infills. But these would be built at a scale that are more compatible with the single-family neighborhood context. The east and west neighborhoods, which the east neighborhood includes the Martinelli building, and the west neighborhood is the area between downtown core and Walker Street, have a mix of uses, and the intent for these is to continue the same with some additional housing opportunities and adaptive reuse for some of the non-residential buildings. The workplace industrial is the area along Walker Street, and there are existing businesses here which are viable, and there are others that may transform over time. And we've had a lot of discussion at the advisory committee and with the community about what should happen here. And this is one of the questions we have for you today in terms of what is your vision for this area. So when we get to the end of the presentation, we'd like your feedback on that. So how do we make the vision of these character areas come to fruition? And Our team is proposing doing that through the development code, which is the tool for regulating and implementing this vision that has been expressed through the character areas. In summary, we are looking at the downtown core, which is in the center of downtown, the historic core, the extensions along Main Street and Rodriguez, the workplace industrial environment, the flex downtown neighborhoods, and then in yellow, what you see is the edges to the neighborhoods. We are suggesting we use a form-based approach for this hybrid approach, which allows for using, putting in standards, both development and design standards that regulate form, or using buildings to shape public space, so that we are creating an environment in downtown that is of the same, of the quality that we want to see. This emphasizes built form, and then there are regulations to streetscapes as well as public improvements. There's some flexibility in terms of what land uses can be included. So walking through some of the elements of this quickly, the downtown's active public environment is intended to create and consider the relationship between the ground floor of buildings and the sidewalk itself, so the frontages. And how those two meet, the private frontages with the public sidewalk, is of key importance to creating the kind of place we want to see here in downtown. And these will change, these frontages and the regulations that address them will change based on the kind of the uses that are happening on the private side. So as you can see from the images, a commercial frontage looks very different than a residential frontage, which looks different from a civic or office frontage. One key aspect of the regulations will be to allow for a flexible frontage approach, so that you can accommodate a variety of active ground floor uses, whether they be residential or commercial, once the building has been built, with only minor adjustments over time. And I'll show some examples a little bit later on. As I mentioned, within the active downtown core, in a little bit more detail, the buildings will continue to be built right at the setback line, or to create a continuous street wall and a continuous experience. And then allow for sidewalk amenities with sidewalk dining and other furnishing. One way to ensure that active frontage is to require shop front transparency, which means larger windows to allow for both views in and views out of those buildings. Again, allowing for seamless indoor and outdoor spaces with large openings, so you see the activity spilling out from the inside of the restaurant here out to the sidewalk. The building heights in the downtown core would be the highest. We are suggesting up to 4 to 6 stories, which is in keeping with some of the taller existing structures within downtown, and to ensure that new buildings are compatible with and transition to those existing buildings. Moving outwards from that downtown core, the intent is to maintain a similar environment, but to allow for greater flexibility with regard to use. And here are the examples I mentioned. You can see on the top floor, the top left image, how the same building can have a residential use and then over time be converted to a retail use with very limited changes. So all that changes is the the small fence goes away, and instead you can still have a retail store there. The building on the two set of images on the right show the conversion from, again, a residential or office building when there's an arcade to a retail or service building. This is really important because right now there may not be the demand you need for as much retail, but in the future there is likely going to be. So the buildings once built have to only go through a nominal change to be able to accommodate the new uses. In terms of the flex downtown neighborhoods, the goal is to maintain a flexible mix of uses in a scale that is compatible with the neighborhood. As you can see in this image, sometimes we have these unseemly transitions from a single-family, single-story home to a four-story multifamily right next to it. So the goal is to have more context-aware or compatibility standards that prevent some of these awkward transitions. These are just images of neighborhood-scale building types that would be allowed in these zones, between 2 to 3 stories at most. Then finally, the Workplace Industrial District. This is along Walker Street. We've had several discussions with the advisory committee and the community about what should happen here. And the priorities we'd like to confirm are support and preserve existing uses, use adaptive reuse and tactical public realm improvements for those structures that are no longer needed for industrial, and then provide additional public realm improvements that could unify this area with the rest of downtown. Connections from the future station at the historic depot along Beach and Lake to Main Street would be critical, and so making that connection will be, if that's ever built, would be a key part of making this integrated. And then on the sites that are vacant or underutilized, those could be redeveloped with new uses. So the way the specific plan would address that is using what's called a regulating plan. It would have 3 base zones, as well as overlay zones, which provide special standards for certain things. So for example, you might have a frontage zone for portions of Main Street which require that the ground floor has retail on it to create the active uses that we want, while in other areas there may be different overlays that are utilized. We had presented this material to the advisory committee and the community at a workshop in April and May, and following that we had a community-wide survey to get even more input about these recommendations. The survey was open for about 5 weeks. We received about a little over 250 responses, some of them in Spanish, and there was a lot of outreach done to get the word out, including social media posts, meetings with the high school students, e-blasts, and then city staff held 5 pop-ups at the farmers market as well. We had a good mix of respondents, as you can see from the chart in front of you, the 2 charts. And about 75% were downtown or the areas, neighborhoods surrounding downtown or other Watsonville residents. The big ideas for the future, as I had described earlier, were reinforced, and these are shown in the in the red text on your screen. I won't read these out in the interest of time. And then we confirmed the top priority by each of the character areas. So for historic downtown, we heard the same kind of things that I just presented, developing more active ground floor uses, retail and restaurants with housing and office above to allow for outdoor dining and to improve walkability. Similarly, for Civic Corps, we heard the desire to have additional streetscape improvements and to redevelop the majority city-owned block for which I had shown some images earlier. With the other character areas, we heard similar things, and again, I won't read through all the various recommendations here, but what we heard was to adaptively reuse some of the historic buildings, encourage mixed-use development where possible, and to allow for more multifamily, residential, and live-work type spaces throughout downtown. We also asked questions about Main Street and the concepts that I had described earlier. And we had 77% who agreed or strongly agreed that there should be parklets along Main Street for outdoor dining. But 64% wanted sidewalks to be widened to allow more room for pedestrians. And almost 50% agreed with the concept of reducing the number of traffic lanes on Main Street to calm traffic and make it safer for pedestrians. And I might add, to do the first two, you would need to do the third option that I just described because of the fixed right-of-way that's available. For each East Beach Street, 78% agreed that it should be converted to two-way street, and the same thing for Lake Avenue. The bike connection recommendations also were generally agreed, ranging from 69 to 76% in terms of creating the connections that I had described earlier. And then there were a series of open-ended responses that were in the survey results. And as I noted, that the desire to incorporate parklets and widen sidewalks was welcome, but there was less agreement with the reduction in travel lanes. So guidance from you all tonight would be helpful as well in terms of what happens on Main Street. I'll also note that there is an opportunity for some funding from Caltrans for potentially doing that road diet on Main Street that may be coming down the road. With that, I will pause. And
Thank you
any
for that presentation. It was very detailed. We appreciate it. Are there any questions from the council? We'll come back for comments later, but questions at this point? Councilmember Garcia?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that Caltrans would help with funding, because that was my main question. This is going to cost, and so where's that funding going to come from?
Let me go ahead and take that question. Part of the reason why we shared that last comment is that very recently over the entire stretch, we've been coordinating with Caltrans and talking through the general concepts of what changes might be possible for Main Street. And through these efforts and through some of the conceptual drawings prepared so far, we've gotten some tentative buy-in from Caltrans about them actually wanting to move forward with doing some of the work that we've already outlined today. It's at this point, they are looking to incorporate it as one of their own projects through their SHOP program. And so it'd be part of the state highway program for them to implement this as a part of like a complete streets type project that would be fully funded, designed, and then constructed by the state. But at this point, we're This is something that we've been in recent communications with, and of course, we would come back to council with a formal recommendation for that possibility to move forward, to implement some of the things we've talked about today.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hurst?
I just want to make sure that we had adequate dialogue with Caltrans, and it's continuing to evolve. I got my answer.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Time frame for many parts of this, but let's start from the beginning. The one-way to two-way on those basic streets that we have, Eastlet, the one-way streets.
Yes.
What's the time frame that would be between the one-way and then switching over, the months, years?
That's a good question, and it is still to be determined. I think since those are Caltrans facilities, there'll need to be extensive coordination with them, to establish how exactly that conversion would take place. They may have to vacate some of their ownership for a portion of the couplet for that to happen. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty complicated affair, and it might take a little bit longer, which is why we have the short-term recommendation that can go in to place, can be put into place much sooner, while the longer-term conversion can happen as soon as all the details are worked out, but it may be several years down the road.
I'm sorry?
So it may be several years down the road.
Yeah, I'd have to say that in Caltrans timeframe, that would be fairly quick, unfortunately. And some of the things we've also been talking to them to advance that idea is what we're framing decoupling the couplet to allow for it to turn two-way and possibly relinquishing the portion that doesn't need to be part of Beach and Lincoln and Main, and keep the remainder portion as part of the straight highway system.
Thank you.
Councilmember Montesino.
Yeah, I like that idea of closing part of Union Street, but is that one of my question is that the short term or the long term?
If that, the portion of Union Street is vacated, I mean, that would, I'm not sure what the timing of that would be, but given the fact that there are several property owners on that site, I would venture to guess that it would probably be a long-term opportunity for the city to pursue.
I know that there are several property owners waiting to, I guess, for this plan to be in place so that they can actually move forward with projects that they are wanting to build and be part of this. When is this specific plan going to be finished so that these property owners can start moving forward with some of their projects?
Yeah, as I noted in the overall schedule, we are looking to coming back to you for adoption summer or fall of 2022.
So in a whole another year, this government at its fastest, I mean, it's like snail pace. Am I going to be live when this is done? Like, this is like crazy. So, okay, well, thank you. And then also, the two questions, post office, you talked about, it sounded like it may be going away. What is that? Did I not hear you correctly?
There's no plan for the post office to go away, but if it did, we wanted to show how that site could be more integrated into the fabric of downtown.
Okay, and I saw that same kind of idea on Brennan Street across, I guess, from Notre Dame School. It looks like in order for that to come to fruition, you would have to tear out all those houses to build the housing, the 3-story housing that you were talking about in that picture?
No, the plan is to put in regulations in place so that if a property owner chose to redevelop, they could do that. There's no plan for a city intervention there.
Right, but you're setting it in motion that those properties along Brennan Street could be developed up. Rather,
That's
so
right.
those houses would be removed. And that's what developers do, right? They go in, I lived in big cities before, so this is what they do. They go buy houses, they buy lots by each other, and then they build their projects, right? So that would open up that door for something like that.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, and then your 48% supporting the single lanes on Main Street. So is that 52% that did not support that idea? Or how did that break down?
Back to that. So
One thing to know that a majority or closer majority supported it. There was a larger faction that was undecided. And then there was a relatively smaller fraction that were opposed to a road diet to go from 4 travel lanes to another direction to one in both directions, a central turn lane. And so one of the takeaways is while there was a relatively smaller proportion compared to the parklets and the widening sidewalks, there was a wider margin that were perhaps undecided, and this would be an opportunity to speak through the trade-offs. If you want one, you may need the other.
Did you go out, like, how was this done? Did you do it in the utilities? How was this poll taken? Did it get to our seniors in District 7? Were they able to speak on this? Like, were we able to reach, how were we reaching people? I saw it, I just didn't see how it reached certain, parts of this community, like the senior village.
yeah, so to answer your other question first, there's about 19% who were undecided or had no opinion. And then 48% agreed or strongly agreed. And about for the lane reductions on Main Street.
Okay, can you go back to the graph with the age breakdown?
Yes.
That took the survey? There you go.
In
Go back.
fact, we
You just
had
passed it.
the senior population was about
11%.
11% over 65
small.
and
Compared to like their
14% over 65,
14.
and about 35% were in the 45 to 64 range.
Yeah, I don't consider, I'm in that range.
Yes.
I'm not I don't think I'm a senior yet, but thanks. But so 65 to, so the 14% was the makeup, and then under 18 to 24 was 8%, or actually more than that, it was 17%, because you add on the other one. So a majority of this was 45 to 64.
That's right.
Basically.
And that's very typical of surveys we take in most communities. That seems to be the most engaged group. This survey had an extraordinary high percentage of under 18, and I think that was due to the fact that Justin went to the high school and had a meeting with the high school students to encourage them to participate. So
Okay. So that's how we got that number.
That's how we got that
number higher.
number.
And then my final question is, when I was looking at this and seeing kind of the future for the property that we own across the street, do you think, or do you feel, I don't know who would answer this question, that maybe the city should make the first investment into this future and transforming that property into what we want this to look like? Whether it's mixed use or.
So I can speak to that real briefly, and Justin may have other thoughts, Mayor. But we had, as the council knows, have been engaged over the years with developers interested in redeveloping the property. They acknowledge the opportunity there. There's a lot of underutilized and inefficient use of space, a lot of parking lots. And if you look at it from the sky, similar to the map that they were showing, including the post office, you can see there's opportunities there. So those conversations had stalled, realizing that the current general plan restrictions would have made it very difficult to develop the property in a way that would have taken full advantage of the site. So I do think that with the completion of the specific plan, we'll be able to re-engage in those conversations. And because they're city-owned properties, we have more control than we typically would, hoping that other private properties downtown will move forward with redevelopment. So absolutely, I think it's an opportunity for us to take the lead with the specific plan done, and having the building blocks in place finally to be able to move forward was something that I think could be really exciting for that property.
Can we do this simultaneously, like start planting that seed? Because everything moves so slowly. Like, are we going to wait until the fall of 22 before we even decide to, move forward? Or I mean, since we have the ideas already planted, is this something that we can start, putting out into the universe?
I think there's certainly opportunity to do some of that work concurrently or on a parallel track. There's some risk to doing so until the plan is final, because it means that you are moving forward based on some assumptions of what's going to be in the ultimate plan or not. It does happen. And again, one of the properties that's kind of wrapped in the center that is privately owned, they've been closely watching these conversations. They've continued to stay engaged. So I think as soon as we have more certainty over what the council wants to see in the plan, what the community wants to see in the plan, there will be opportunities for that.
Okay, great, thank you. Any more questions? Oh, Councilmember Estrada?
Thank you. I'm sort of curious just to know a little bit more what people thought of Walker Street, and both in terms of safety and just potential.
So Walker Street is interesting. It's an industrial use right now with a lot of truck traffic on it. It also has a bike lane on it. So there were some concerns expressed about bike safety. It is also the location of the Pajaro River, the trail along the bike trail, rail to trail route, which would allow for a better, more protected bicycle lane. So there are also limited sidewalks in that area, and trucks and parking happens in that kind of a no man's zone between the buildings and the street, which makes it less safe for pedestrians. In terms of the uses, there was a lot of debate about wanting to continue to provide jobs in the area, because a lot of the residents who live in the surrounding area work within those particular industrial buildings, but also in the other industrial uses across the street in Walker, in the West Side industrial area.
Yeah, and so what we heard here, I agree exactly with that characterization, is a range of possibilities, but also tension in terms of the existing land uses and the type of infrastructure and what they can facilitate. So there are some inherent tensions when you have a major truck route and pedestrian and bike facilities. And yet there's trying to be accommodations for all these things, as well as potential future reactivation of the rail for passenger rail service. And so, granted, Walker Street primarily is industrial and is a transition to the more industrial portion of town, and then in one direction. And the other direction is a transition towards downtown, where you have a mix of residential, commercial, and other types of activities. And so there's been a lot of discussion on what's the future of Walker Street. The continuation of more industrial type uses, or the possible infill of a mix of other range, and whether it's horizontal mix or vertical, and what that should look like. And so that was one of the graphics that we had on there, is what would be, can it be continued more as a job generating industrial base type of zone? And then how far in, right? And then what would be the transition that allowed mixed uses, particularly on some of the underutilized vacant properties that are just adjacent to it. And so those are some of the things that we wanted to explore, bring to light, and get some of your feedback as well.
Thank you. That was my question. Thank you, both.
All right, I'm gonna go to the public at this time. Anybody would like to comment on our downtown Watsonville specific plan? Please come up and do so. Hold on. Go ahead.
How do I squeeze this all into 2 minutes? Well,
Oh, you're gonna
first
have
of
to.
all, Justin Meek is correct. We need to have a rail system. And to hell with the RTC director who says, no, we can't do a coastal for sure. Guess what? We need to do it. Biden's proving it by signing that bill into law this week. We need to have a coastal rail running down either, well, past the transit center or down, what street is that? That's, anyway, the one we just mentioned starts with Walker. Thank you. Folks, we need to have two-way traffic only on Main Street and get rid of the hot rodders and make a sign saying, hey, you want to race? Go down to Laguna Seca, go down to Highway 1 and turn right, or turn whatever, and turn left at the exit. In addition, yeah, we need parklets. Make people feel safe, paseos in between buildings. You're absolutely right. I think Director Miriam, you mentioned it. Yes, it's a good idea. So people don't have to worry about being run over by crazed idiots who are 25 years old and think the accelerator pedal belongs down on their car. We need to have this. And yes, restrooms in City Plaza, nice ones, thank you. November 29th, Matt, I'm going to go down and look to make sure they're starting. Please. Plus, trees, trees, trees. Thank God for the Watsonville Wetlands Project, because Pajaro Village is just about to invest in about 3 or 4 trees that I'm going to propose at our HOA meeting tomorrow night. In addition to that, we need to make sure that East Lake and Beach are two-way again. And Beach, even though we can't carry it all the way out to the beach, we need to make it as far as possible, west possible, make it into a really nice street so that when people come to this town, they want to go to our beaches. Have you all forgotten? The LA Times announced, the travel editor said, our beaches are among the best in the state. Let's make that happen. So thank you, Mr. Meek. Thank you, Ms. Merriam. You're doing a great job. But can we speed it up sooner than October of 2022? Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. That's government, Steve.
I taught it in gun for
Yeah,
years. I know.
it moves slow. Mm-hmm. Anybody else like to comment on the? All right, we'll bring it back to the council for a motion. Or do we need a motion? We're just collecting information, so no. So thank you very much for your presentation. All right, we're now moving on to our last item of the evening, new business, the Memorandum of Understanding with the County of Santa Cruz and Midpen Housing for processing the Pippin Phase 2 project. And this will be staff report by Community Development Director Miriam, again. Otra vez.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Council. My name is Susie Merriam. I am the Community Development Director, and I'm going to explain what is going on with this Pippin 2 MOU. This proposed project is on a parcel adjacent to the city limits, located in the unincorporated county. And the proposed emergency access road for the project is located on a parcel inside the city limits on Atkinson Lane. So I'm going to give a bit of a background before I get right into this project. The Pippin 2 property, formerly known as the Lamb property, which is kind of right on the center of this map, was part of a larger rezoning and specific plan process undertaken by the City of Watsonville and the County of Santa Cruz in 2007. This included a Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Watsonville, the County of Santa Cruz, in which the county would pay for and prepare the environmental impact report, and the rezoning of 2 county parcels to high-density residential, while the city would pay for and prepare the Atkinson Lane specific plan, which was required by Measure U before the city could annex the area. On June 9th of 2009, the EIR General Plan Amendment, Rezoning and Plan Development were approved by the county for their portion of the Atkinson Lane project. The approval was challenged by the Farm Bureau in July of 2009. The settlement agreement allowed the county to move forward with rezoning and development of their 2 parcels, while the city agreed to set aside our specific plan. The parcels outlined or shown on the screen were allowed to rely on the EIR and allowed to move forward. So those are, let me show you here. It's the Lamb parcel and essentially all that's yellow. In 2014, the county prepared an addendum to the EIR to reflect the terms of the settlement agreement and to update and allocate the mitigation measures as appropriate to the reduced project area. Also in 2014, the city and county separately approved a 46-unit affordable housing project at 56 Atkinson Lane, known as Pippin Apartments or Pippin Orchards. 20 of those units were approved on the city parcel in the city limits, while 26 units were approved on the county parcel. At that time, an MOU was signed between the city, the county, and Midpen, the developer. It's similar to tonight's proposed MOU, and it outlined how the project would be designed, who would review and inspect the project, and what agency would receive impact fees. After the project was completed, the city ended up annexing the county portion so that it's all under one jurisdiction. In late 2020, staff from the City of Watsonville, County of Santa Cruz, and Midpen began discussing development of the second county parcel, again known as the land parcel, as well as the accessory parcel that's in the city limits. Midpen has subsequently submitted a design review application to the County of Santa Cruz, and they've submitted a minor design review permit application to the City of Watsonville for the use of the city parcel for emergency vehicle access. And on your screen, you can see outlining the city parcel, and then this is the county parcel, and it would be accessed off of Brewington Avenue, so off the end of Brewington Avenue, and then emergency access would be coming off of Atkinson Lane. In early 2021, Midpen submitted that application. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of that project, and then it has to go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. So the approval process, again, for our portion of the project involves just an administrative minor design review permit for the emergency access road. The property address is 78 Atkinson Lane, that's in review in my department now. Both this Board of Supervisors for the county and the City Council must approve the Memorandum of Understanding for the project. And just to go over what an MOU is, it's not a legally binding document, but it serves as a declaration of intent and agreement between two or more parties. With the Pippin 2 project, the MOU would serve as a roadmap outlining which development standards the project would be designed to, what agency would be responsible for review and inspection of the project and the plans, and what agency would receive impact fees for the project. The purpose of the MOU is to set expectations, but not to be enforceable by a court of law. So, of course, the big one for both jurisdictions is looking at impact fees. As we know, this is a South County project. It is going to be serviced sewer, water, trash, police, will all be provided by the city. And therefore, it was very important during the negotiation for this MOU that the city receive our fair share of those impact fees. So you will see on the screen that we will be getting all impact fees that we would regularly get with a development that is within the city limits, including portion of traffic fees, as well as the park and recreation fee. Other things that the MOU includes is, again, laying out who will do the plan review and inspection for the project, and then who will provide public services to the project. And then finally, there is a condition of approval that LAFCO has asked the county to place on the project, that within a certain amount of time after completion of the development, that Midpen must apply to the city for annexation of the entire project to the city. So that, again, is something that is the authority of the city council that's in place at the time, but just wanted to be clear that at some point in the future, when the project is finished, they will be requesting annexation to the city limits. And with that, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution directing the city manager to enter into the MOU with the county and Midpen for the Pippin 2 project, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Based on our previous presentation by Ambag,
yes,
who gets credit for these houses? I mean, they're in the city of Watsonville. So who gets credit? Because I would think we should get credit.
Right. And because it's going to be constructed in the county jurisdiction, the county will be getting RENA credit for this. However, another way to look at this is that we are going to get 80 units of affordable housing for South County, which is a great thing.
Why are we motivated to annex this development and take it all on if we're not getting credit for it? I mean, we don't get double credit because annexation, okay, we get credit now.
Right. You know, it's something that LAFCO feels is the right thing to do, because these will be residents that will be using, city services. And just like when we went through the annexation process for Pippin Orchards, it allows these residents to be a part of the city rather than be an island in the county.
And just to add to that, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem Parker, for all intents and purposes, it'll be our fire department responding to calls, our police department responding to requests for service, our sewer lines running to the project, our water lines running to the project, and just next door, their neighbors in Pippin Orchards are Watsonville voters with the opportunity to vote for Watsonville council members. So I think it's generally agreed that it's in the best interest of this expanded community for them to be fully functioning members of the city of Watsonville.
No, I mean, I totally understand that perspective. But I'm trying to figure out, LAFCO's never been a fan of Watsonville. LAFCO controls our very existence on a day-to-day basis. So, was there any negotiation that we could have entered into?
Well, again, LAFCO's placed that on their county permit. All they can do is require Midpen to apply for annexation. It will be up to the city council whether you want to support that when it comes forward.
Yeah. Okay. But we're not getting credit for those houses.
No.
We're going to serve them, we're going to pay for all that, but we're not going to get credit for it. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, Susie, in your report, you mentioned Measure U. Please explain the impact of Measure U on Pippin Phase 2.
I'm trying to think which way to go with that. Well, as Atkinson Lane and the Atkinson Lane specific plan area is part of the Measure U urban growth boundary. So this is being constructed in a portion of our Measure U growth area.
Well, if we have an urban limit, we have to keep to that urban limit. So back to annexation, how could we passively annex it?
No, this is part of our annexation area. This
Oh.
is included in Measure U.
Oh, so that we could annex it?
Yes.
Got you. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Councilmember Hurst.
When and if in the future this would be built and possibly annexed into the city, would the property tax be split with the county, or would we receive a share, or is that yet to be negotiated? Because I know that's one of the sticking points with past annexations. And while you're thinking of the answer on that, this illustrates, you know, how important it is to get right, because we don't want to inherit something that needs a lot of fixing up and work, such as some of the Freedom annexations did, where there's still no sidewalk or curb, but
Right. Yeah, no, and that's why when the county began looking for parcels way back when in 2007 to rezone to meet their requirements for affordable housing, we decided to partner with them because we knew eventually this would be our growth area, and we wanted to make sure that it was planned out accordingly. And then to answer your question on annexation and taxes, yes, it would be moving to the city's tax. However, the property taxes for this property are going to be slim to none because it is an affordable housing project.
well, that's an important thing for the neighbors and the public to know as well. And you know, how do you justify the conversion of prime agricultural land in this case?
Through the EIR and the rezoning that the county did for this, that was all reviewed and determined to, I think, be not prime farmland. But essentially, that determination was made way back in 2011.
And the legal challenge of the Farm Bureau's all been resolved, and there's no outstanding issues on that?
Correct.
Thank you.
I feel like sometimes in these projects, I'm like a broken record. Here we go. Here's the county taking advantage of us again, because what they do, right? They're like, annex this land in, and then we're gonna not give you the child care credit. Sounds like they're keeping that, right?
Well, we don't have that, so
Okay.
that's
What's the pervious credit?
That's a fee that they charge, that we have a different fee that we charge.
Are we charging that fee, that other
Yes.
fee?
Yeah.
So they're gonna get a fee out of this, even though they are saying here, annex in, right?
Yeah, they get a couple fees.
Those roads are, I mean, I've been talking to the residents in that area. Those roads are residential roads. I mean, if you put 46 units in there, or 80 units, that's going to be at least 160 cars more on Burlington Avenue in that area. I mean, that's going to be outrageous. I mean, that's just, those roads aren't made for that. And, you know, I just feel here's the county telling us what to do, and we just do it because we want more voters. I mean, I don't even agree with that. Like, they think we're that dumb down here in Watsonville? Do this for the voters? Like, I don't understand. You know, we have to put in all new infrastructure. You know, we'll be using city water, city utilities, city fire, city police, but yet they get to keep all the numbers, you know, for our housing that we have to hit. So I'm just really against this. The neighbors that I have talked to in that so far are extremely against this. As you, I think it was you said 2009, the Farm Bureau fought this. This was, Ari and I shared this closest off of Wagner. It's her district and my district, which, you know, has been part of this conversation as well. Have they thought about coming off of East Lake Avenue to go into this? I mean, is there another way of getting to this project? And an amphitheater? I mean, you're adding an amphitheater in the middle of this.
Yeah, this again was all designed with the original entitlements way back in 2009 when they did the EIR, and we worked on the specific plan, and this was the road network at that time. So Midpen is following that basic scenario.
Are they going to put sidewalks in? I mean, I think Councilmember
Yes,
Hurst
there
was
will
talking
be.
about, so they're going to take down that wall, and they're going to make the road bigger, and sidewalks on both sides, and lighting, Infrastructure, they're going to add infrastructure? Who's responsible for that?
They're going to be adding all those improvements along the new road up to this project. I don't know whether specifics on whether they're doing any improvements on Brewington or at the end of Brewington.
That would be a city, right? We'd be the ones having to do that, I would imagine, since that's our property.
Yeah, I'd have to look at their conditions of approval because oftentimes there are off-site improvements that are required of a developer. There's some traffic mitigations and improvements that need to be made on Freedom and other areas with this project. So there may be some on Brewington Avenue.
I'm really concerned. You know, we just approved, what was it, 80 units? What was the Freedom Boulevard, Atkinson Lane? How many units was that one? Was that at least 80? We just did it.
No, I think that
53 units there.
Yeah.
46 units on Pippin 2. That's close to 100. This is one more phase. Isn't there a phase after this as well? Phase 3?
Only when the Zepeda parcels cease to be farmed.
Okay. And so once the next farming section we stop farming, we're going to have another phase.
Yeah, that would be at the point when the city would be doing a specific plan again and then going forward with annexation.
When do they plan on starting to break ground to put this in?
I couldn't tell you. I think, yep, Joanna's here from Midpen. She might be able to answer a few questions for you. Sure.
Yeah, you can take it off and speak.
Director of Housing Development for Midpen Housing. Thank you, council members, for having us here today. As you probably know, Midpen Housing is a not-for-profit affordable housing developer. We're over 50 years old, and we have over 13 properties throughout Santa Cruz County. And we're also, our coastal office is based here in Watsonville, actually in this building. So I just want to take a second, thank you to city staff for all of the hard work that's gone into this. As mentioned, Pippin Phase 2 is a part of a larger entitlement area that was approved by the county in 2014 as part of its commitment to meeting their affordable housing goals. There were 6 sites that were cited throughout the county, and they were entitled for affordable housing by right at that time. This process included extensive community engagement, as has been alluded to, and did result in land use and environmental approvals to allow for the development of affordable housing at this location, but also there was sites located throughout the county as well. In 2014, Midpen, the County of Santa Cruz, and the City of Watsonville came together for the implementation of Pippin Orchards, that first phase, and that consisted of the 46 homes, and that was completed in 2018. In 2019, we were able to acquire the formerly known as land parcel with a $3.5 million acquisition loan from the county. We are currently slated to start construction on these 80 additional homes in the first half of next year. So Q1, Q2 of next year. I do want to take a second to just flag who our project partners are that are already involved in this project. But before I do, we all know that the need for affordable housing is great and is only growing. When Pippin Orchards was completed in 2018, over 2,500 people applied to get on the wait list in that first week for 46 units. This just gives us an understanding of the dire shortage of affordable housing in our communities. And over 60% of the residents that actually went into those 46 units lived and resided in Watsonville, and many more worked in Watsonville. So Pippin Phase 2 will bring an additional 80 units of affordable homes for the community of Watsonville and unincorporated Santa Cruz County, with a family development of 1s, 2s, and 3 bedrooms. 39 of the 80 proposed units are actually restricted for farm workers and their families. And there's an additional 12 units with a preference for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So some of our project partners included in this, we have a $7.5 million grant from the state through the Joe Cerna Farm Worker Program for those 39 units. We have vouchers from the Housing Authority of County of Santa Cruz. And Housing Choices Coalition is our partner for the 12 units for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're also working very closely and partnering with Watsonville Wetlands Watch because, as I think you saw at one of the slides, there's a about 6-acre wetland that will be preserved as part of this project. And we are, once the project is complete, we're going to work with Watsonville Wetlands Watch to do some of their in-kind youth programming to do the restoration and seek other grants as well. I think that I'll answer some of the questions that I've heard tonight. I think I covered some of them. As Susie's been mentioning, a lot of the project approvals for this site were all ironed out in 2014, and so we are following, there's a planned unit development for which we are working under, and it is very prescriptive. The Brewington Road extension will have the sidewalk, a bike lane, and a public road right-of-way. And what were some of the other questions that we heard about entitlements? The improvements so there are 2 locations of traffic calming measures, and my colleague Luis Preciado probably has them memorized. I believe it's actually I have them, I'm sorry. He just pointed to the paper. Yes, that's right. So some traffic calming measures on Brewington, north of Crestview Drive, and I believe there is one other that I think we will get back to you in a moment. And Crestview. So I'm
You have a question? Go ahead.
happy to answer other questions. Yeah, thank you.
I think you're muted too.
Well, I can hear you, but I don't know if anyone else can.
That's funny.
Oh, I remember. In terms of the permit process,
Yes.
are you using SB 35?
No.
You're not? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It was entitled in 2014, and we're following under that planned unit development permit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did I hear you correctly that only 46% of the people that are now in Pippin 2 are from Watsonville?
No, I was saying, so there's 46 units, and at the time they leased up, over 60% lived in Watsonville, and then another additional percentage, which I could look up for you, but was also worked in Watsonville. So more than the majority of the folks that were leased up in Pippin Orchards, and there hasn't been that much turnover.
So 60% were already here.
Already lived and resided in
40%
Watsonville.
moved in to Watsonville.
Yeah, most of them were from basically the areas surrounding Watsonville and Santa Cruz County.
Okay. We're bringing a lot of people into our community these days, so, you know.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, could you repeat back? So you mentioned about 39 units got from somewhere, and then other funding.
Yeah, 39 units are going to be restricted to farm workers and their families. And there's a state program for which we have a $7.5 million loan to support that.
And the rest, you got credits from the housing authority?
We have project-based vouchers, 37 project-based vouchers from the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Cruz. Our rents are all restricted between 30% of AMI and 60% of AMI, and a range to cover those.
What's MAI?
Sorry, area median income.
Do you have all the funding for this project?
We do. We're very excited that we were successful in receiving 9% tax credits in the last round for this project.
So you would expect it to break ground soon then?
Yes, we're Q1 or Q2 of next year.
So just months away?
Yeah.
Okay. I know one of the neighbors on that street, she's like wanting to put her house up for sale now because of this. So that's, this is a tough decision, you know, to be really impacting the traffic in that area, you know, but it's, I guess, what we live in now. All right, anybody in the public would like to comment on this? Nobody from the public would like to comment on this project. I will move forward to bring it back. Councilmember Montesino.
Yeah, I want to move the resolution approving the memorandum of understanding with the county, Santa Cruz, and Midpen Housing Corporation.
Thank you.
I can second.
Thank you, Councilmember Hurst. Okay, is there a discussion? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, then Councilmember Hurst.
Just a comment. And I know I'm going to speak to Justin about this and Susie and be educated, but it seems like less and less local control and more of what we're being told what we're going to receive. And then they put in these little things like we're up here voting yes or no on an MOU, but it's really kind of done, whether we like it or not.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could speak to that, and Susie may have other comments. I just want to be clear that all the project approvals have already moved through. This is a voluntary MOU that is helpful to stipulate what impact fees we're collecting, how we're divvying up plan check review, how that handshake happens with the county, just logistically speaking in terms of staff support for projects. The council has full discretion as to whether or not you want to approve this tonight. I think there's benefits to doing so. Staff work hard to ensure that the city collected all of the impact fees that we were due, including the parks and recreation fees. That was a topic of discussion through all of that. So I think the opportunity that this presents is to ensure that those services that we're providing, that the council's raising concerns about tonight in terms of impacts, that we're collecting what we would be collecting had the project, if the project was being developed in city limits. And I think that's important. But, you know, make no mistake, the council has full discretion tonight as to whether or not you want to agree to this MOU, because it is discretionary.
And if I could speak, I agree with everything Matt said. And, you know, in my mind, this type of planning for how it's all going to come down is extremely important, perhaps almost as important as planning what kind of a project it'll be. Because if this goes forward, the people that are going to lend money on it are interested in how it's going to happen. We don't want any hiccups during construction, and we don't want disputes between agencies during construction or after construction, potential lawsuits and everything else. So they have been sitting down, as I understand it, at the table for months and months and months, trying to iron this out. And I know one little piece of it, park fees, there was a bit of a kerfuffle about that. The city prevailed on that. And so this is good planning. But as Matt said, it's totally your discretion about how you want to address it. But I just want to say from my chair, anyway, this is good planning and a negotiated agreement hardly fought by city staff.
Okay.
Well, you know, this is really not a new idea. It's, in fact, when the Brewington neighborhood was built decades ago, you know, this was the streets were kind of stubbed out to be able to access this property. And it has been in the planning stage for a long time. And so I don't want to hold anything up. I think, you know, it kind of illustrates, though, the pinch we're in land-wise, in that, you know, we just don't have a whole lot of land available to build anything on. And so this is kind of what it comes down to if we're going to supply the kind of housing that needs to be provided for farm workers and disabled folks and others that really need housing. And so, you know, it's not a new concept here, but it's, you know, it's difficult to kind of justify and rectify with all the hoops that have been jumped over. And I think more than anything else, it kind of reflects upon the city's need to grow and the city's need to expand and provide more housing opportunities. And this is not perfect, but it's been worked out in the past. And so even if we don't have an MOU, I think it still moves forward.
Even without an MOU, does it still move forward? If the supervisors pass it on December 7th, Because that's the date. I mean, people, I mean, I'm in. Right. So, I mean, that's the date. I'm gonna flyer the neighborhood and let if people, because things slip under the radar, right? I mean, people in neighborhoods don't even know this is coming up. And on December the 7th, the Board of Supervisors is gonna make the final call on this. So, what was the vote on the Planning Commission for this project?
I don't know.
Was it unanimous?
It was unanimous. And as part of the design review process, everyone in the, I think it's a 300-foot or 500-foot radius has been noticed about the Planning Commission and the noticing, et cetera.
Okay.
And I just wanted to flag, there's two things that we haven't touched on exactly that are ironed out in this MOU, and it's a little bit around, so as the impact fees, as we said, I just want to give you a slight dollar amount. We're looking at about approximately $1 million of impact fees that will go to the city, in addition to almost $500,000 of a impact fee that goes to Pajaro Valley Unified. So I just wanted to just flag and put a dollar amount that will be contributed for this project.
Oh.
And I was, a question on the amphitheater, like.
Yeah,
that's-
so it's actually, and it's, so it's a, well, you know, there's a wetland, so it's a bit of a slope at certain points, and so both with one of the buildings, but also with that amphitheater, we decided to use the slope as opposed to fight against it. And so it's kind of like a natural, it's sloping anyways, and so we thought it would be a good use of space as opposed to trying to build a monstrous retaining wall and flatten things out. So it's a good place for programming, community events, community meetings, things like that. But it runs with the slope of the natural slope of the site.
Can they put like large, I don't know, I mean, like could like some of these smaller bands, you know, from the area come and perform there and hold like little concerts?
Sure, with coordination with our property management team, yeah, I'm sure things like that can happen.
I just
I don't know
if
how
that's-
big, I mean, yes, it depends on how big the band is.
Yeah, I just have a lot of concerns with this, and I think that, you know, it sounds like our current supervisor voted for it, or his planning commissioner did at least. So, I think if people want to talk about this, or, you know, that live in that area, December 7th is going to be the meeting that they have to go to. Oh, go ahead, and then we'll vote. You're off.
Oh, jeez. No, it's on.
Oh, you're on? Oh.
It's on. Oh, okay, I'll do this.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's just that the need, particularly to Watsonville, the need for affordable housing outweighs any sacrifices we need to make. And so I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. And I think we need to take more advantage of the Robert Rivas bill and work with our farmers to build more farm worker housing in the county. That needs to be that should be on the top of our list.
Be a top priority.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I agree with Councilmember Garcia. I mean, the need outweighs some of the concerns, and just to relay some you know, some comments that I heard is, you know, if you look at that property and back at Safeway, their Pajaro Lane, we haven't annexed that, and people get confused because we have garbage trucks from the city going through there, and then county, you know, trucks from the county. So people are confused because they get their water. We give them water, but we don't give them the facilitate, you know, other services. But we do provide police because they're right there. We do provide all the other services, but I think we're not getting, you know, the impact fees that we should have. You know, it cuts both, you know, both ways. It's just too close to us for not to not think about those issues.
Great, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Estrada,
Aye.
Garcia,
Yes.
Hurst,
Aye.
Montesino,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Dutra.
No.
The motion carries.
All right, so with that said, we are moving on to any emergency items, requests for scheduling future agenda items, and we're adjourned.